Hello, episode 59. Episode 59, Russell, of the Two Russells podcast. One off episode 60. Who shall we get for episode 60?
We are getting nearer and nearer to your age with every episode, aren't we?
Oh, you've surpassed my age, Russell. What a wonderful podcast that was from Tony. We started, didn't we? I thought maybe in episode 58 we were going a little bit too much into, you know, how good Tony is as a speaker and, you know, all the things he's done. We really opened, didn't we?
We picked a thread again, didn't we? We picked a thread. And look, he talked very frankly about his challenges and depression, bipolar, being diagnosed, the difficulties had in life in terms of, that story about his dog was horrendous.
Yes, yeah. As a dog lover, both we are, aren't we? I was thinking, where is this going? Please tell me the dog survived, and it did. And the other thing off camera I thought was really interesting was Tony's wife saying to him, don't tell people about your diagnosis because they won't book you. Yeah, bookings went up.
Well, yeah, but that, I think, is his wife trying to second guess how men deal with such things. So men admitting that they're depressed, they have mental health issues, they're bipolar, they're alcoholics, or whatever, or that they need a prostate exam. Oh, God forbid. We, as a kind of the male of the species, so to speak, I think are terrible at opening up. And I think Tony's wife was probably trying to protect him on the basis that, I don't know if you're ready for this, to lift the veil on your psyche as such. But he did, and he's opened up with us.
Which was great, and it was a wonderful episode. As I know, our next guest is going to be an absolute inspiration to all of you out there listening. A fantastic story, many years in property. Off camera, we were just talking about how many business interests Hayley has got, and I can't wait to unpick some of those today. But first of all, let me just welcome Hayley Andrews. Hard Hat to Heels is your main business we're looking at today and promoting. Welcome to the Two Russells podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And I feel very underdressed, look today.
I know, look, Hayley's turned up properly, and she made an effort. I've made a bit of an effort because I'm actually wearing something covering my legs. Russell Jervis, as ever, in shorts. What's next week? Speedos?
No, I've turned up on this podcast wearing full suit every single time. I was a guest on another podcast this week, I think, which is now the third most successful podcast behind us, obviously, the one I went to. And yeah, the host was in nice relaxed shorts. I thought, well, maybe that's okay for today.
It's because it's hit the dizzying heights of 28 degrees centigrade out there. Something we used to call summer. Now we call it a weather warning.
It's 40. It's 40 out there.
Yeah. Okay, let's crack on. You wear many hats, Hayley. Can we just try and make sense of the multiple hats that you wear, not just the hard hat in Hard Hat to Heels, but all the others? And then I guess once you've gone through those, why? Why so many?
So I've been in the industry since 2006, so 24 years now. Mm-hmm. And I've done every single strategy you could possibly think of. So I started with buy-to-lets, I went into HMOs, small and large, from 4 beds right up to 21, 22 beds, bars, restaurants, schools, pay and display car parks. I specialise in listed buildings. I'm a trustee across 3 preservation trusts. I'm a governor of 9 different schools. So I give
9?
9. Yeah. I own a construction company, estate and lettings agency. I'm a portfolio landlord across commercial and residential. And I'm, of course, the founder and owner of Hard Hats to Heels, which is the fastest growing female community for women in property, UK. We're at 26 locations now throughout the UK. That's 26
Fantastic.
Events a month. And we are going global as well.
Brilliant.
So we're actually taken over, which is good.
When you say 26 events a month, I think I've seen 1 or 2 posted. Manchester, for some reason, is the one that I've seen on LinkedIn more than. Maybe that's just the algorithm. But so what is an event? What is a Hard Hat to Heels
So
event?
Hard Hats to Heels is a female community for women in property and business. And the events we have guest speakers in. We, of course, support, help promote, shine a spotlight on phenomenal women in our space. So it's all about connection, building relationships in a safe, supportive space.
Are men banned?
They're not. We do actually have men speakers as well. And we also do what's called a mix-in, so a hard hats to heels mix-in, where once a quarter we'll open up the doors to both male and female.
And what was the pivotal point that made you start Hard Hats to Heels? What was the moment that you said something needs to change, this space needs to be created? Was it straight away in 2006, or was it having experienced something?
Well, I mean, I've been supporting in women in property and business for a long time now, because I used to specialise in internationals investing in UK property, so as a mentor alongside my UK mentees as well. So I've been doing it for a really long time. But Hard Hats to Heels really only came a brand 2 years ago.
Okay.
So we're fairly new. And the reason I started Hard Hats to Heels as a female in this space, it's no secret that there's been challenges in a very male-dominated industry. And when I started out 24 years ago as a young, back then attractive female as well, there were lots of challenges. And as my
when you say challenge, you mean obstacles because you're a woman?
Well, yeah, obstacles, being taken seriously, managing people's perception.
The wolf whistles?
Yeah, the wolf whistles, comments on
Misogyny?
site. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a tough cookie. I can take it, but the point is we shouldn't have to. Yeah. I just rolled my sleeves up, got on with it, and made a name for myself by the projects that I was producing and delivering on a regular basis. So naturally, I just became a well-known female in our space that was delivering on, some pretty exceptional projects that were well documented and talked about. So it kind of felt like the industry had changed.
Mm-hmm.
But what had really happened is the industry hadn't changed. People's respect for me had changed because
what you were doing.
Because of what I was doing. I went to a new networking community. It was actually predominantly business, but there was property there as well. And not many people actually knew me. And I was treated appallingly.
Right.
And this was about 3 years ago. And the conversations were just different, because they didn't know who I was, what I was doing.
What do you mean?
Give an example?
Treated appallingly. What do you mean?
Well, just straight away the conversations would shift to: are you working with your husband? Are you a interior designer? The developer hat just didn't come into it. It was more of, I must be an estate agent in finance or a property stager. So it was just
you
the
can't
perceptions.
be the owner.
Yeah. Or it was my husband's business, and I'm just following along.
Lots of mansplaining.
So lots of lots of that. And amongst other things as well. But I then started reaching out to younger women that were entering the space and hadn't been in the space for very long, that didn't have a name, or perhaps had only got 5 or 6 projects under their belt, and were really navigating the industry themselves as new investors to the space. And the industry hadn't changed. And their experiences.
So their experiences were the same as
were the same as mine.
And this is not. We're not talking like 20 years ago. We're talking literally in the last
3 years.
2-3 years.
Yeah, for my experience in that different space, that's what sparked me then to ask the question. But as a woman, I've been locked in a property. I've been sexually assaulted. I've been sexually, both verbally and physically. So there's lots of things that have happened throughout my career that are overlooked, I guess.
And how did you respond? I don't mean, calling police or whatever. I mean, that's a matter for you. But how did that then add or contribute or otherwise to your drive in this industry?
Well, I've always kind of just focused on what I'm doing. I'm a very hard worker. I'm very focused. I hold myself accountable. And I think that is, the secret to my success. There's really nothing special about me. I'm not particularly intelligent or anything like that. I'll just work harder than anybody else. And if I say I'm going to do it, I'll do it. So that's all I did. I just continued to crack on with it and accept, I guess, that was the business that I was in, or the arena that I was playing in.
That's how it's going to be, but I'm going to try and change it.
Yeah.
And where does that drive, sorry, Russell, where does that drive come from? So if we go all the way back pre-2006, what were you doing in 2005? And where does this drive come from to take on the world in some respects?
So it's 2002 I started, not 2006.
Sorry.
That's okay. So I've always been interested in property, but I've always been entrepreneurial. So I've always had side businesses on the go. Even from, being a child, I absolutely hated school. I was a bit of a rebel. If I turned up, I was often told to go away.
Really?
Because you were disruptive.
Well, I just asked a lot of questions and perhaps rubbed them up the wrong way. And I've never really liked being told what to do. So I always knew that I would need to do something for myself.
Classic entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think so. And even as a child, I used to buy duty-free cigarettes from a neighbour and sell them to my
individuals.
Sell them individually.
Not just entrepreneur, but effectively a contraband smuggler.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Wow.
There's a few of those stories that you don't realise you're doing anything wrong. But at the time, I was just buying, in bulk and selling them individually and making a markup on it.
Definitely.
So I always kind of knew that I would, need to do something for myself. But I've always, although I didn't like school, I've always loved learning. Okay. So even when I was at school, I wasn't particularly interested in the topics that they were teaching or, the narrative that they push you down. But I would then go and learn something else and be interested in learning. So I'm a qualified football coach, a qualified photographer, a qualified personal trainer, beautician. So I did loads of different courses. I've got lots of qualifications.
Hang on. Right. So you wear not just multiple...
Well, I don't do any of those anymore, but
in terms of
I got the qualifications.
But the question about the hats you wear, you're a whole kind of millinery shop. You're not just wearing hats.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just try and dig a little bit into what has motivated you or driven you into wanting to, if you don't mind me saying, tick so many boxes? I'm not saying it's a tick box exercise, but whether it's the 6, 7, 8 property businesses stroke brands that you run, that you founded, that you run obviously very successfully, or all of these other things.
School governor of how many schools? 9 schools.
I mean, the question has to be a very frank why.
So, ultimately, the business off the back of doing them, I started when I started in property, it was natural to open up a management company because I was self-managing at the time. I didn't have the time to self-manage, so I set up a self-management company, a property management company, and then employed people. And, it just grew from there, really. We went into property management, then estate and lettings agency, sourcing, the training organisation, because people were asking, can you show me how to do it? So it was just natural from what people were asking for, what people wanted, what was missing as well at the time.
There's almost like from everything you did, you then saw a consequential opportunity.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I do really well. My background is I am a data analyst, and I'm really good at recognising what's missing.
How big's your team?
I've got 40.
40? Across all of those businesses?
Across all of those, yeah.
Wow.
Then obviously independent contractors. And
how do you get time for anything else? What does Hayley Andrews do in her spare time? You don't have any.
I don't have spare time, no.
But how do you got to switch off? How do you relax?
I garden.
Garden?
Okay. Yeah,
do you?
I love gardening.
Is that your kind of therapeutic time to yourself?
Yeah, so I get up at 4:00 in the morning I've always been a natural riser, but I get up at 4, I do my affirmations, my meditation, my grounding. So I have that time for me before anybody else wakes up. I do then a couple of hours of work. So I'm answering emails and things like that because I have a lot of internationals that are emailing me or needing my time. So then I'll deal with those first before the UK wakes up. And then I'm just very organised.
How do you manage that team that you're going to be doing you? So I need to do this for me to clear my emails, get myself ahead of the day, and make them feel that they haven't got to be responding straight away to you because they're asleep or whatever it may be. So how do you run?
I schedule it. I'll always sit down the night before and look at what needs to be done the next day. I do it daily because there is just so much in my diary.
Do you work from home or an office
No,
at home?
I have head offices in Dudley Town Centre. But yeah, I can work from anywhere really. Unless I'm obviously doing site visits and things like that. That will keep me to an area during a large project.
So back to scheduling, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm really strict. If it's in my diary, I do it. I put everything into my diary down to, time with myself, the gym, everything like that. So if it's in there, I will do it. If it's not, it's not getting done. Yeah. I actually put that time aside for everything, whether it's finding new deals, whether it's, working on relationships or connections that I've, come across at networking events, things like that.
So you're disciplined.
Right.
And
very
organised.
disciplined and organised, yeah.
Can we talk about personal brand?
Yeah.
Because I think you're quite good at it.
Thanks.
What is it what is personal brand to you, and how have you engineered this kind of, I was going to say persona. I don't say that as in it's artificial, because I think from what I see, whether it be on LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, it's kind of pretty real. But how have you kind of orchestrated that? And maybe answer in such a way as maybe to give some tips to people watching this that think, actually, I'm not quite sure what personal brand is. What do they mean by that? I mean, what is it to you, and how have you engineered it?
So I don't think you engineer a personal brand. You attract people, the energy that you put out. So I'm very real, authentic. I'm not a flashy person, and that's, I don't buy Lamborghinis and all things like that. All my money that I make in business and property goes back into business and property. Yeah. I do a lot of stuff with charities and things like that. I give my time freely. Although there's not that much of it, I do give quite freely. And I think, although I never set out to be a personal brand as such, people just brought into my story who I was. They met me at events. They liked what I was about. One of the things that people say about me is not only am I authentic, but also there's no ego. I'm a very real person.
Yeah.
I'm quite open to say there's absolutely nothing special about me. Anybody that holds themselves accountable, compound over a long period of time, will do well at something. It's less about talent, more about discipline.
Mm-hmm. Property investment is seen as a really attractive thing to do, isn't it? A lot of people would love to be in the property investor space. And John Howard, we spoke at the Property Investor Show, didn't we? Interviewing John, he was talking about his deals, what he looks for. What do you look for in a property deal? What if we're just talking residential? What would your advice be to people looking to start out in that space?
I think a lot of people try and avoid problems, whereas I will look for a problem and then find the solution. Okay. So I often buy projects that most people have walked away from. Most developers or investors have walked away from. Okay. And again, that comes down to being like a dog with a bone. I know that I will be able to solve the problem. So that's what I do. I identify what's missing. I don't focus on a strategy, which is why I think my portfolio is so diverse. Mm-hmm. And you do have bars, restaurants, schools, pay and display car parks, residential and commercial, offices, hotels, and such a wide variety of assets within my portfolio.
Which gives you some protection, I guess.
Well, it's spreading your risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also the strategies are driven by the demand and the current supply. So I watch areas. I look at regeneration, I look at population, I look at housing stock. I am a data freak.
Yeah, you take that data.
Yeah.
Nationally, or will you look?
Predominantly Birmingham and the Black Country, but I do invest all over and in other people's projects as well, because with John Howard, I'm on Property Elevator.
Okay.
We have people from all over the UK.
Yeah, John was off to buy something in Scotland, wasn't he? After he left us, I think it was.
I think he's back there now, actually.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Right, he was totally diversifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was property in the family blood? Was it something that your parents got involved in, or?
No. I grew up on a council estate, single parent family. I'm one of 7. My mum was a post office clerk, and she did lots of other stuff independently as well, like dressmaking and things like that. But she worked extremely hard to put food on the table. We didn't have very much at all. We were really quite poor.
Do you think that was formative in terms of you wanting success?
I don't think it was, because lots of people automatically assume that it's because I came from nothing that I want everything. But actually, money has never been the driver for me. It was freedom. And that might sound ironic because it sounds like I'm very busy, but it's all stuff that I choose to do. And it's all stuff that, is on my bucket list, something that, that I want to achieve for myself. And it's less about recognition, more about personal growth. And that's how I choose my projects. Every single project that I choose is challenging me as a developer. That's why I buy a museum with a covenant on there, and it can only be used as a museum, or a building that's got no roof, and or there's enforcement notices and planning issues and all things like that. I buy those because I grow as an individual.
You can use that as leverage, of course, as well, which I'm sure you do.
One of my favourite things to do is negotiation, and it's all about any business. It doesn't matter whether it's property or anything else. It's all about supply and demand, and when the demand is low, you can drive the price down.
Complex, particularly.
Yeah.
It's also about, just from my background in estate agency many years ago, it's about performing, isn't it? It's about actually, if you say you're going to buy,
exactly,
you buy.
Yeah, exactly.
And land agent.
It doesn't always come down to price.
Yeah,
it comes down to you as an individual, your credibility,
I might not
and
be
being
paying the
able
most,
to
but I'm
deliver.
gonna pay.
Yeah, I think money isn't the only currency. There's often properties and projects that I get accepted on, and I'm not the highest bidder. Yeah. But I've worked with planning. I know what that area needs. I've put a great proposal together. And this is why they want to work with me.
Talking back of one of your other things about mentoring and supporting people, we were having a chat on the previous podcast on why so few people in the property industry mainstream get coaches or get mentors. It seems something that isn't a British thing to do.
It's very American, isn't it?
Yeah. What's your view on that?
I think, there's enough. The world we live in now, I had to get educated because there wasn't really anything out, 20 odd years ago. The only way you could learn how to do something was to go on a course, or go sit in the library.
Or get a teletext.
Yeah, exactly. I remember those days. So the world we live in now, information is everywhere, but understanding is lacking. And I think that's why people need mentorship guidance, because you can type into ChatGPT or Claude, what's Article 4 area, or, what's a covenant or anything like that. And you can see straight away what it is. But it's a lack of understanding that we have
of what
in
you
the
can
industry.
do with that information.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it's, I think I never set out to be an educator. I never set out to be a mentor. It's come off the back of people wanting me to help them with deals that they've got going wrong, or to help them get started right. And I think what mentorship does is it collapses timeframes.
Yeah.
Whereas, you can go and find the information everywhere. If you're prepared to apply it, then it might just take you longer to get to where you need to be. You don't necessarily need a mentor. But if you want to collapse timeframes and you want someone that's practiced what they preach, and you want somebody to hold your hand through that process so you make less mistakes and leverage their experience, that's when a mentorship is valuable.
So talking of education, you talked about being a bit of a rebel at school.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you left school with any qualifications?
Yeah, I did.
Or not?
I did. I left school with all of them. I passed all of my exams. I would say, well, I'm quite intelligent. I just didn't like school.
Yeah.
After school and even now and even to this day, I still love education. And I just didn't fit that box.
So do you think, and I say this in the context, my daughters, 3 daughters, 2 have just finished their GCSEs, one has just finished their A-levels. There's this huge emphasis on education, university. That's the route to success.
It's nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Increasingly,
everybody that works for me has got a degree.
Yeah,
I
so
don't have
increasingly in the studio, we talk to people that I suspect, actually, with some exceptions, the 59 people we've now interviewed have probably got, I don't know, 25 GCSEs between them. I don't want to decry our education system, because obviously education is important, but it definitely isn't the be all and end all. I mean, you don't have to have an education in order to be an entrepreneur. I would argue, actually, that most entrepreneurs don't have an education and almost are successful in spite of not having an education.
Big regrets, Russell.
And I think maybe
to go to university, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, but I think it's to Hayley's point. But I wanted, in hindsight, I didn't want to go to university at the time, because otherwise I would have done, I suppose, although my parents didn't bother pushing me that way. But it's one of those things that if you believe in kind of, fulfilling your best self, living your best life and all that, which I do, although I think those things are cliched a little bit, I regret not going to university and getting a degree, because I'd like to think that I could have done.
Right.
But I guess my point here is...
You can go back.
Yeah.
You can do it now.
In the spare 9 minutes on a Tuesday.
It's online open courses
I'm almost
and
as
things
busy
like
as
that.
you are, Hayley Andrews. But I guess
You're just making excuses.
Yeah, but so the thing is that, I do training still, and to, better me as an individual, but that's my personal growth. I'm not making money out of it. I didn't become a personal trainer to make money. I did it because I wanted to know how to look after myself and how to help other people and, and know the industry. I didn't become a football coach because I wanted to be a football coach. It's just the learning that I like to... I'm a bit crazy like that. Yeah.
Where does this end up? I mean, given how busy you are and how successful, and you're juggling a lot in terms of those kind of brands, those businesses. What does your life/business look like in 5-10 years' time? I mean, do you sell the whole thing and retire to a Caribbean island?
Maybe.
I can't see you doing that.
Well, the thing is I probably use the money I make off the businesses to probably buy another business.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is I have operational managers in place. I'm not even the director of some of the companies that I own. So I'm not running them on a day-to-day basis. So Hard Hats to Heels, of course, yes, I am. It's a new brand. I'm the driver of that brand, the owner of the brand. It's come off the back of my own personal brand. But then there's hosts on the ground in every single location: Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Doncaster, Cornwall. We're all over the place.
Are there locations you're looking for that you want people to come
we have
forward
locations in all of those places.
But other parts of the country where you think, if somebody wants to get involved and become a host, what does that involve for them?
So they would go through the website, Hard Hats to Heels, and they would apply. They'll go through an internal process, and then if they will then be invited for an interview with me.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We have about 25 applications a week.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but we're only going to 36 locations in the UK, and then we're going to 18 different countries.
Is it money making or just vocational?
So all of the hosts are making really good money. For me, it's more about creating that space. We, of course, do female training as well. So there's a business off the back of that. But yeah, there's no money in networking. You know that. It's not about that. And I think that's why it's so successful, because it's actually authentic. It's there and to support and help grow the women in the room. Yeah. We collaborate, we do business together, and there's a lot of business done in our room.
And the other...
rooms, I should say.
The other project that you were talking about earlier was the Women in Property Awards and how you've been driving that. So you were saying only 5% of nominations were for women, and that's on the rise now. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that came about because I've been a judge across all major award ceremonies for many years, and it always baffled me that there was only 5% applications of women. So you can't be what you can't see. And for the next generation to see that there's a space at this table, they need to see phenomenal women doing well and being
Yes.
recognised for the work that they're doing.
Why is it
And
only 5%?
I don't think women are putting themselves forward,
Why?
because it's dominated by men. Whereas now it has a category of its own. Nominations have gone up, which tells you that's why. You know, the most inspiring thing to me was 97% of the nominations had never been nominated before.
Right. So
New
they're
people
getting the courage to come
that
forward.
have, been doing phenomenal things in our space for one of the winners, 20 years.
Wow.
Nobody even knew her name.
So you're helping to facilitate awareness and a route in.
Shining a spotlight.
Yeah. Which is obviously
They're doing the work.
laudable. But I'm keen to kind of understand where where our industry, property construction, is going wrong then in terms of this imbalance, this gender
That's what I was
imbalance,
gonna say.
which still is clearly the case. So what you're suggesting is there's no glass ceiling, so there's no kind of board of male directors saying we don't want any women on this board. That's not happening. But there are women that are hesitant because they're fearful of the fact that there's this kind of patriarchy going on within the property industry. So you think that that's an endemic attitude that is preventing women themselves from putting themselves forward?
I think that will be one factor to it. But I think the other thing is visibility. And that's why I'm doing Hard Hats to Heels and created the Woman in Property of the Year award, because it's about representation. So, I mean, I can't remember who did the study, but they did a study across UK schools and they asked who their idol was. Less than 1% was women.
Right.
Across boys and girls?
Boys and girls.
So
everybody named
the role
men.
modelling.
So it's about, this is where I say you can't be what you can't see. So the idea is with not only Hard Hats to Heels, which is working, we're entering rooms now in mixed spaces and rooms are becoming more 50-50 just in the 2.5 years that we've been doing this.
Quick straw poll, who's your hero?
Who's my hero? It's male. But, my hero. I'd say Sylvester Stallone.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Why? Because adversity?
The boxing, maybe. Well, yeah, his story
He was
is
written off,
amazing.
right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Written off, believed in himself. Nobody else has to believe in you other than you.
Yeah.
It's about that grit, determination, and holding your vision of yourself and what you want, in spite of what people think.
Gone from an actor that was shunned to now not just an actor, but director, producer, writer. Jervis, who's your hero?
Who's my hero?
Or heroine?
You put me on the spot. Who is my hero that I look up to? Come back to me, Russell.
Okay, do you want to know mine?
Yeah.
No.
Thank God it's... well, I was going to say, thank God it's a woman.
Is it
Oh,
really?
Maggie Thatcher,
Margaret
you are, aren't you?
Thatcher.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
so much
she's a
so,
pretty
my eldest
superb
daughter,
woman.
her middle name, this is going to come back to haunt
Margaret.
me if I tell you, is Maggie.
Oh,
Is it?
Yeah. Like, can you hear?
Yeah,
can you hear
she
the
is.
audience going? Yeah,
No.
Margaret Thatcher.
Superb
I mean,
woman.
you're talking of strong, purposeful, productive, formidable women.
Yeah.
The number one in the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
I
super.
don't think I really had a hero outside of.
Don't you?
I always looked up to my dad. That was a big piece.
That's fair.
For me.
That's
You know,
nice.
So that was the big piece.
That's fair. No one in
Big
property.
inspiration.
Not a Peter Rollings or a Harry Hill or a Grenville Turner or a Paul Smith.
Yeah, Paul and Alec were huge influences on my career. I was asked this question the other day on another podcast when there was a developer that built a lot of the stuff around here called David Furlong. He was a big influence on me, but I wouldn't call him a hero. Yeah. Big influence.
Not
There's
Josh Rayner.
people you can
Not Josh
aspire,
Rayner.
and be impressed by, but then not necessarily your hero as such. I think hero, and then, it's different to somebody you aspire
Too. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think
it can be.
Yeah.
A hero has to be someone that, if you can kind of almost have in your life a replication of how they were or are in terms of their whole kind of modus operandi. That to me. So if I could be if I could have half the conviction, half the effect of someone like Thatcher, and I don't mean snatching milk from kids, by the way. Let's move on from that. And the miners, apparently that was a bit inconvenient as well.
A bit naughty.
Just a little.
Bit naughty, maybe a slight blip. And the Belgrano. But apart from those three things, she was fantastic.
But
She was. I agree.
Very disappointing to go back to the subject at hand. For me and Russell still, it's so disappointing that as recent as 2 years ago, 1 year ago, there is still this male, masculine misogyny you would talk about in our industry, isn't it? It's not changing, despite...
It is changing, but it's like
not
turning
quick
a
enough.
ship, isn't it? It's a slow burn.
Do you think it's just
it's
generational?
definitely better now than it was 20 odd years ago. It is changing.
Can you see improvement year after year? Is it generational? So do you think in 10 years' time...
It's harder for me to say, which is why I had to go back to younger women starting out or earlier in their journey, because people do respect me. I am well known within our industry, and and I am a well known female. So it's hard for me to say. People don't treat me the way they did 20 odd years ago.
Right.
Well, just assume that I'm sleeping with someone, or that's how I got to where I was, or that's how I negotiated down, or, the assumptions more than anything is...
Is your mum a bit of an inspiration in terms of how she was growing up?
Well, my mum is really old-fashioned. So she brought her council house, thanks to
Thatcher. Way.
So she brought her council house, and she always worked really hard, but she was always you don't have what you can't afford and things like that. So, for her to see the level of debt that I have out, like millions of pounds of bridging loans and things like that, she would have heart attacks. So
You don't tell her?
I don't tell her, no. It's better I don't
watch
tell
this,
her.
because now she knows if she does.
Well, maybe just won't send her the link to this one. But no, for a long time I didn't tell her what I was doing because, it was a different mindset to me.
And what about your siblings?
So
you got
all
6?
of them, yeah. All
they
of them,
successful?
other than one, is entrepreneurial.
Really?
So have their own businesses, small independent businesses.
Hang on,
Brilliant.
So 6 of the 7 of you are entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
but coming from a background where your mum and dad weren't entrepreneurs and you came from accounting. Wow, hang on. What's gone on there?
think it
How's that
comes
when you all
down-
get
Hang
together?
on. There's
So the
something
reason
there,
most
Hayley
of us
Andrews.
are in property is because nobody else will employ us. So I think, I think it just comes down to making your way, doesn't it? It comes down to pride in what you do. I don't know. I think
And being
we're
a
all
rebel.
very disciplined. We all did sport. So maybe that's where it comes in.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, being a rebel and being completely unemployable.
I would say we
like
are
me and
unemployable.
Jervis.
Yeah.
No one will ever employ us too, that's for sure.
Are they all in the same location as well, or
No, they're all spread out.
all spread out?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm a twin as well.
Are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you compete with each other? Is that part of it?
No, because I would win.
There it is. There it is. That's it. So you are competing.
No, we absolutely don't compete.
You sure? Sounds like you might be
Because
a little
there's
bit.
no competition.
That I am the most successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you. But that's not, a badge that I wear. You just asked that question.
It just happens to be the case.
It just happens to be the case.
Well, I think we could dig here, you know.
Dig away, Russell. Dig away.
Dig away.
What would you advise your 24-year previous self, knowing what you know today?
Oh, good question. Focus on the process, not the prize, I would say. Finish line is for the ego, but the journey is for the soul. So stop and actually enjoy that journey more.
Are you happy?
Yes. Yeah.
You didn't even hesitate there.
Yeah.
No, I don't. If I'm not happy with something, I move on.
And do you only do the stuff that makes you happy? You know that adage, which I live by actually, which
there's
is,
stuff that we do. that,
do a job you love and you never work a day in your life.
I go very much off energy. Everything is in my diary and it is very manic and I do have to be disciplined. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work to be me. But if there's something in my diary that I feel I see it in the diary and I have that feeling, I don't want to do that. And that's a regular thing. I cut it out of my life.
Like that phone call. You're thinking,
it's absolutely all or nothing with me.
Yeah.
And I am at that point in my life where I can choose what I want to do, and I choose what gives me energy. I choose what helps me work in flow. I choose what I get excited about. I choose challenges that genuinely challenge me. So. 100%,
Thank you for choosing to drive 3.5 hours to come here today.
With my roof off, and I'm pretty sure I've got, my head is as red as this
No,
jacket.
it's not. You don't know. Can you give us some property tips? As in, we're in a changing world, politically, economically. There's challenges. Fixed rate mortgage costs are higher now than they were 6 months ago for all sorts of reasons. I mean, what would you say to someone watching this in terms of they want to get into property, inverted commas, for the first time? Would you be suggesting that they buy something to refurb and flip, or buy something as a buy to let, HMOs? I mean, what would be your tip to someone starting out?
I'd say you've got to know what you want to get into property for. If you're in full-time employment and you want to start doing HMOs and self-manage, that's not going to work for you. If you have a relatively low risk profile, then, buy-to-lets might be the strategy because it's fairly low risk. But actually, if you need to make £5,000-6,000 in the next 2 years, that's not going to get you there. So it depends on the individual. And I think what a lot of people do is they jump into property, they do a course, they get fixated on a strategy. The latest one is, title splitting and serviced accommodation, and they go down that route and just try and make it fit with what they want, and they don't actually realise how much time, effort, and money is needed.
Just buying a buy-to-let second home.
Well, you think about
duty.
just buying your own home. It's one of the most stressful things that you can do, isn't it?
What Russ really meant there is, should he sell his buy-to-let or keep it?
Well, I don't know. I can have a look at it for you if you want.
It's on the market.
I mean, for me, property's always been a long-term game, and it's always been about buying and hold, and cash flow. Yeah. My initial kind of strategy was just to replace our income. We surpassed that, very quickly. That was really driven because my husband wasn't very well. So we had to replace his income, and he was on over £100,000 a year.
Right.
And he was self-employed, and we had no insurance on him because we were really young. So that was the first driving force for me. I'd already got a decent buy-to-let portfolio because that was just going to be my pension plan.
Right.
Because I was moving from one job to the next. I was taking what I needed from that job and then, getting bored, moving on to the next one, and really
those early day buy-to-lets. Were you looking at terraced houses, flats?
Yeah, so we had
residential mainly.
All residential in the early days. So all of the buy-to-lets were residential, single-family dwelling. Majority, although purchased well, because negotiation is something I was born with 100%, and I would say is one of my favourite things to do, but also a skill that I'm very good at. We just put the tenant in there, and we even paid the mortgages down. But the first property I purchased was my home.
Right.
And I moved in with my husband and I rented my house out. I did it all wrong. I was on a residential mortgage. I didn't get consent to let. I just rent, so there was sorting all of that out afterwards. But from that point, I was hooked. And I thought, you know what? I know that I'm going to jump from one job to the next. I know my personality. I know that I'm not going to stay anywhere.
Stay still.
Yeah, so this property can be my pension. So that was my in, I guess, to property. But I guess I was an accidental landlord.
Right.
And it just started from there. So I wouldn't necessarily do anything different because I genuinely think that everything that happens, good and bad, in our life takes us to where we are right now. And I'm grateful for all of it. But I own a lot of property in my own personal name, although back then that was fine.
Yeah.
Which obviously is a hindrance now.
Yes.
Would you change anything?
No, I don't think I would. To change something, you don't know.
It would have
outcome.
consequences.
It would have consequences.
A lot of people wrestle with work-life balance, this
What's that?
diary
What?
management.
What?
Yeah.
Work
Yeah,
balance.
work
Work.
balance. Yeah.
Is that a song? Work, work, work,
I'm
work,
a big,
work.
big believer in make life your work, work
Yeah.
your life, blend the two. and
Exactly,
You
yeah.
don't have that stress anymore
Yeah.
because it's all one,
Yeah.
and just make it fun.
Yeah.
Was there anything you did or researched to get control of this diary? Because that I know stresses a lot of people out, and the sacrifices they make often will be the ones they shouldn't make.
Well, I think the first sacrifice you make is yourself. And I got to the point of burnout, and that's when I realised I was a busy fool. And there was a lot of stuff I was doing that wasn't serving me. And I was working, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I was working extremely hard.
So you crashed or?
No, I didn't. But I recognised that it wasn't working for me, and I had to. I think the thing is, I got into property, but I didn't learn business until later. So it became I was a victim of my own success, and I think every version of you requires, every level that you move to requires a better version of you. So I got to the point where I was doing so much that actually one missed, and everything would fall. It was, I was juggling everything alongside, of course, my husband being ill, my son as well. I've got a son. So it became about sacrificing. Well, the only thing I could sacrifice was me. I wasn't prepared to let anything else drop. And not that I was prepared to let me be sacrificed, but that's normally a sign.
Yeah.
And I think, I didn't necessarily recognise it, but people around you will comment and say, and people that love you, and sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's, it's
bad
not.
thing.
And not a good thing. And I think how I recognised that I was, I was not where I needed to be was the energy.
Right.
Which is why I focus on it so much now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Because I think I've had a lot of adversity over my life, and you get stuck in survival mode. And I think that's where I was.
Yes.
Fight or flight. So constantly doing something all the time to, get to the next step, but not in a positive way. Whereas like now, I only focus on what I want to focus time on, and I genuinely get energy from it, and I work
It's
in
often
flow.
referred to as the circle of influence, isn't it? The things you can control, the things that
Well, that's what it's about,
are
isn't it?
in your in your gift.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at that point, then I restructured everything, brought in, more employees, because it
Share the load.
in the beginning I needed the money, and then as you grow as a business as well, you've got to obviously your overheads grow and everything else. So it was always kind of like in that mindset of, well, if I pay someone else to do it, I could do it myself. And I had to get out of that.
Was the chicken egg thing, particularly when it comes to being
Yeah,
an
yeah.
entrepreneur working for yourself, because you don't want to spend the money, but you need the leverage.
You need to leverage.
To
but
give you the free
but you have
freedom
to buy,
of
you have to
time
bite the
to
bullet.
focus on
You have to
the-
bite the bullet, because sometimes you bring in the leverage too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of invest in it, I suppose.
Well, I guess going back to your previous question, would I change anything? I would. So it's about return on time as well as money. And I never recognised the return on time. I only looked at the return on money.
Yeah.
So prioritisation.
Yeah.
Amazing. What
Wow.
a story.
You're quite the inspiration, aren't you?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, an absolutely fascinating episode. So many learnings in there. If people want to get in touch with you, Hayley, LinkedIn or straight to Hard Hats to Heels, is that the
Instagram.
best way?
Yeah. LinkedIn, Hayley Andrews, Instagram, Hayley Talks Property 24/7.
Okay.
I
bet
look
you do.
after my own accounts. I do. Yeah, property is my life. I love it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, everybody. If you do, please like it, comment and subscribe. And then that will help me and Russell get even more great guests on like Hayley. So thank you so much for travelling down here today on what is, I think, officially the
Hottest day of the year.
Or as it used to be called in England, summer.
Ah, there we go, Grumpy. Right, so that leaves me to say it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.